Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today our group will present our assignment entitled Ibn Sina. Introduction. Abu Ali al-Husain ibn Abdullah ibn Sina or Avicenna was the preeminent philosopher and physician of the Islamic world. In his work, he combined the disparate strands of philosophical or scientific thinking in Greek late antiquity and early Islam into a rationally rigorous and self-consistent scientific system that encompassed and explained all reality. It dominated intellectual life in the Islamic world for centuries to come, and the sundry reactions to it, ranging from acceptance to revision to refutation and to substitution with paraphilosophical construct, determined development in philosophy, science, religion, theology, and mysticism.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will present about retail and scientific life. He is Abu Ali al-Husain bin Abdullah bin al-Hasan bin Ali bin Sina. He is known as Abi Ali and Ibn Sina. He was born in a village in Bukhari bernama Kormizan or another village called Avicenna. His father was a Sultan Nuh bin Mansur al-Samani worker in the village. He received his first knowledge at his father's house. He memorized the Quran and memorized it with many literature. He learned the language under the guidance of Abu Bakr Ahmad bin Muhammad al-Baqi al-Khawarizmi. He studied fiqh under the nursery of Ismail al-Zahid. He also studied the philosophy and mantiq under one of his men who is Abu Abdullah al-Natili. Ibn Sina was a wise man, so he began to ask his teacher and discuss him about the rules of mantiq. He began to read the books of wisdom and was just a philosophy until he finished reading all the books. He began to receive the book of philosophy of Farabi. He read it, benefit from it, and influenced it. Prince Nawaf bin Mansur al-Samani was sick at that time and he tried to cure him. Ibn Sina was known as a drug among his people at that time. The son of the king brought him and opened the door of the library to him as a reward. These rare libraries have been burned, and the rare books in it are seen only by Ibn Sina.
Okay, now I will continue the presentation with Ibn Sina's writings. There are six famous books of Ibn Sina. The first one is the Book of Healing, a story about encyclopedia of philosophy and its divisions. The second one is the Book of Deliverance, a story about philosophy and its logical divisions, nature and divinity. Third, the Book of Science in General Philosophy, the most complicated philosophical issues in it. Fourth, the Book of Laws in Medicine, the largest book written on medicine in its time. Fifth, a treatise on herb medicine in the faith of medicine, and Haid bin Yakzan treatise on Sufism. Last one is a treatise on music and an agreement of Al-Majaz on astronomy. Okay, the next one is Ibn Sina's philosophy. Theoretical. It is a person whose purpose is to gain belief in the state of being as it is, divided into three parts, namely natural and divine science, and the last one is mathematical science. Practical. Practical is a person whose purpose is to obtain benefit for human and through it human obtain good, divided into three parts also: ethical science, housekeeping science, and politics.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will present about divinity according to Ibn Sina. The divinity discusses God's absolute existence and his relationship with other existence. Ibn Sina classified existing things into, namely, first, obligatory, it's possible to exist. Second, the duty to exist for others. The obligatory, the essence must have a form. Here, essence cannot be separated from form. They are one and the same. An example of God, because the existence of God is not possible, not exist. Second, the duty to exist for others. This essence may have form and may also be integrable. An example is the universe.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afifah Tahira binti Mahyudin. My number matric is 060733. I will present about how elimination of existence. The universe as consisting of 9 concentric spheres with their corresponding souls and bodies in addition to the 10 intelligence. Between Ibn Sina, theologians and philosophers, Ibn Sina disagreed with the theologians in inferring the necessary being, for they infer God by the creatures, inferring him by new nature, but he inferred God by the possibility. Ibn Sina believed that everything in the universe arises from these necessaries, but the theologians believe that everything exists by finding God in it, as he is the creator of everything. Ibn Sina, in the theory of the 10 intellect and spheres, he is influenced by the philosopher Avicenna al-Farabi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Alin Atirah binti Muhammad Samsuddin and my metric number is 059033. Next, we discuss about human philosophy. Human philosophy divided by 3 categories, which is soul and body, al-jismu wa nafsu, the theory of knowledge, nazariyatu ma'rifah, and Ibn Sina's moral, al-akhlaqu indahu. And I will be presenting about soul and body, al-jismu wa nafsu. Based on the analysis and discussion of human, according to Ibn Sina, he said human as an existence supported by the soul. The human, held by Ibn Sina, is the basic of his thoughts on the doctrine of the immortality of the soul and spiritual awakening. According to him, the soul is the highest important thing and it's called al-kamalul al-awwal. With the existence of a soul, so there is something called a human being. It is the main element that completes to be a human. Based on his statement that it's hard to define the soul without associating it with the body, and also hard to define the body without associating it with the soul, because both of it have a significant relay with each other. In explaining the form of relay between soul and body, Ibn Sina thinks that both are only accidental and not an important relay. The bonding between the soul and the body is too loose. As summarized in his poem, Ibn Sina concludes that the human soul has the ability to separate from the body at death. When a person dies, his body loses, but his soul will continue to live independently. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will continue the presentation with topic Nazariyah Ma'rifah. Ibn Sina holds that the means of knowledge are 3 things. The first is the outer senses, second the inner senses, and lastly the intellect. The outer senses, which is apparent senses, have 5 knowns, which is namely hearing, sight, taste, touch and smell. The inner senses, they are also having 5. The first is common sense, the second is imagination, the third is delusional, the fourth is the memory, and lastly the preservation and the memory. These are the 3 ways of knowledge. As for knowledge itself, it is divided into 3 types. The first is knowing the principles. Preliminary, which is like the whole is greater than the part and the one is half of the two and others. The second type is understanding abstraction and general universal. This type requires more effort than the first type. The third type is the knowledge of unseen matters.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hanan Widadi binti Sekubari. Metric number 060092. Ibn Sina's moral. Ibn Sina was a famous Islamic philosopher. His philosophy attempted to build a comprehensive and cogent theory. He believed that the way to this happiness is to acquire theological and practical knowledge, which complement two strengths for him. For him, this natural virtue comes from many other virtues, such as generosity, contentment, patience, forgiveness, keeping promise, life, wisdom, and thoughtful ideas. He thought that happiness is related to spiritual only, as the punishment in the hereafter is also spiritual, and whoever dies, his resurrection has occurred. Ibn Sina was influenced by great philosopher and denying the reward and punishment of Hussein based on the opinion of those who deny the afterlife. Ibn Sina had the opinion that character development should begin in early life. He claimed that youngsters are frequently swiftly impacted by poor moral or bad habit and are unaware of principle and the distinction between right and wrong. It is better to children to stay away from all of these forms at all time. Ibn Sina also contend that as the soul is intangible, it cannot be lost. According to him, the soul has the ability to choose between good and evil in this world.
Avicenna was a product of rich intellectual, cultural and scientific ferment that swept the Islamic world. He created a complete philosophical system in Arabic language. Among the great sagas of Islamic medicine, Ibn Sina is the best known in the West. He was a philosopher, physician, psychiatrist and poet. Like Galen, he devoted a large portion of his work to the study of the pulse, and his contribution to the field of psephomology were significant.